What's going on, Internet? IG here again today. And apparently, according to stuff I've read online, a release of Elementary has dropped recently. So I guess I should probably talk about that. Yeah, this is my Elementary OS 0.3 Freya review. So yes, as does usually happen with these long-awaited Elementary releases, the internet and the Twitterverse and all of that sort of thing kind of explodes when a release like this comes out. Why? Well, because they only release it on a when it's ready basis. So instead of applying a regular release cycle like Fedora and Ubuntu and other big name distributions, they release it when they think it's ready. They've got a small team of developers that are focused on pushing quality over quantity. I think it's a worthy goal. But how does the recent release of Elementary OS stack up? Well, let's find out in this video review. So in an effort to keep this as short as possible, I will definitely refer to the top features that I did for Elementary back when it was in the preview stage. So if you want to go and watch that video, you will get a nice idea of what I appreciate already about Elementary Freya. And I'm just in this video, I'm going to go over my final impressions and overall thoughts about what this distribution is. Going to try and keep it as brief as possible, so let's do this. First of all, you'll notice about the interface itself, it's fairly unique in the Linux world. Obviously, there will always be comparisons to other operating systems in terms of design choices and desktop layout, but really that's what user experience comes down to. It comes down to borrowing good elements of design and user experience from various other projects and polishing them up until they're uniquely yours and uniquely efficient. And I think that's what the Elementary team have done very, very well. Now first let's talk about Pantheon. Pantheon is the window manager and desktop environment that they have created for Elementary. First of all, I think one of the major things that sticks out to me is the amazing multitasking view. So as you can see here, there are different workspaces that you can create, and then managing windows amongst those workspaces is incredibly easy. As you add more workspaces, you can move the windows around between them, and it stays fairly simple to navigate and very easy to identify which workspace is at which, based on the iconography of what is open on that particular workspace. So let's say the web browser, the calendar, and the photo management, for example. Now you'll notice if I go to the multitasking view, you can see it splits it up into the 4 icons in the bottom corner there. I can then grab one of these apps, drag it to a new workspace, and it will create a new workspace with the icon of the app that I've dragged onto it. So it's very, very simple, very efficient, very easy to get for anyone who's never used workspaces before. Now, of course, you could make an argument that this sort of thing is going to be coming in Windows 10, but it's irrelevant because they've done a very polished job here of mastering the idea of workspaces, especially dynamic ones, here in Elementary OS Freya. And I think it's probably, productivity-wise, probably one of the things that I appreciate most about Elementary. Next up, I'm a big fan of Slingshot. Now, Slingshot has been reworked now with libsynapse as the backend. Basically, it's the backend of the popular Synapse keyboard launcher that I was definitely a fan of back in the day. They've used that on the back end of this particular app launcher, so obviously search and filtering is no problem at all, and you can see that we kind of get fuzzy search terms here as well. So if you get approximately what you're looking for in the text field, then it will come up with relevant results. It's great to see a keyboard launcher that is integrated very well into the system and also has some really good options in terms of the sort of stuff you can access all from the one keyboard launcher. So even settings inside Switchboard, which is their system settings manager, accessible just via typing. So that sort of thing is a huge boost to productivity, and I'm quite a big fan. So if we move on from the productivity side of things to the overall look and feel of the desktop, everybody knows that Elementary has its own design language when it comes to the apps and the experience that they want to deliver in their operating system. And I'd have to say that really that modus operandi, you can see it even more so in Freya. The fact that they have fine-tuned every little corner of this system to reflect what they want to see in a well-designed OS is it speaks volumes for the quality of work that the Elementary team pull off. Now that's not to say it's going to have the amount of options or the amount of customization or the amount of the amount of configuration as what you can find in KDE and even GNOME. But in terms of an operating system that you could hand to someone who is only going to use the basics, they're definitely going to be able to figure out how it works and use it fairly simply. In terms of me personally, while I absolutely love the idea of Elementary, the look of it, the feel of it, I'm probably not going to use it on my everyday production system just because of the fact I can't quite tailor it to the level that I would want to use my operating system. It's my own choice, but if I had like another machine kicking around that I was just going to do the everyday stuff on, definitely it would find a home on that one. Some of the apps that Elementary bundle in by default with their Elementary OS have been designed from scratch, and funnily enough, that is the name of one of their text editors. So the text editor is a very nice one. It's probably one of the best looking text editors out there, and it's beside the point really, but it just fits in. And I think that's the most important thing about these apps, is that they all fit in and feel like they belong in this particular operating system. Now there's a bunch of back-end work that they've done to kind of rework some of the previously used GNOME tools, and they've retweaked them all in Vala to make them, again, consistent and usable in the Elementary OS Freya. If we have a look at the kind of resources that this particular distribution is using, you can see it's staying under a gig, which isn't bad for a distribution nowadays, especially a 64 gig one. So I've got to be honest, it feels relatively light and snappy. However, one complaint that I probably would make about the overall experience is, while it is very smooth and very fluid, in terms of the way that I would want to work, I would want the window animations to be just that little bit quicker. As you can see, when you launch things and when you close different windows again, they take a little bit too long, in my opinion, to open and shut in terms of their animations. That's just a personal gripe, but it is very fluid, it's very fast, and while the frame rates of this video may or may not reflect the fluidity of this system, I definitely appreciate the work that has gone into making Pantheon a very smooth user experience. I guess in summary, is Elementary OS the perfect Linux desktop? No, it's definitely not perfect. In my opinion, Elementary OS is an idealistic distribution that seeks to set a standard for what design should look like in the open source world. That's a design language that's very comparable and very competitive with what is offered from the big names that spend millions on research and development for user experience and design. At the end of the day, as a Linux operating system, it's not bad at all. A little bit limited for my personal preference, and there are a few niggles here and there in terms of my experience setting this one up. A good one, for example, being the package manager by default was showing that in the repositories, it was showing the other updates here under Ubuntu Freya. Thus, it was actually Launchpad and the PPA system was having a tough time connecting to it because it didn't exist, so I had to go back and change those manually. It might just be a minor bug that I've encountered and no one else, but there are little tweaks here and there that I would have liked to have seen. But of course, overall, I'm very impressed, and the Elementary team deserve a major pat on the back for the kind of work that they're pulling off here. Now, while I could go into more detail here in terms of their in-house apps like their music and their calendar and switchboard and all that fun stuff, they're all technicalities really that point to the fact that yes, they do work very hard to make this distribution work well and talk well in the way that these different apps interact with each other. Now, one thing that I would have liked to have seen that I'm pretty sure I remember seeing in one of the early betas is the online accounts integration. I'm not exactly sure where that has gone or whether it is still indeed around, but for some reason I couldn't find that. So maybe someone could let me know about that in the comments below. Using Elementary OS Freya will give you a user experience that you're not going to forget easily, and while other distributions and other desktop environments will strive to achieve this level of simplicity, because of the fact the Elementary team have built it from the ground up themselves, more or less, you get to see the amount of quality that comes from that. So what do you think about the most recent release of Elementary? I personally think Freya is a massive step up from the previous release being Luna. But of course, your opinion is going to vary about what you want to see in a Linux distribution. I like the vision and the focus that the Elementary team have for what they want to pull off with their software, and I think it's a very worthy goal. Let me know what you think about Elementary in the comments below, and as always, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+ if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing the rest of the time. Twitter is probably the best place to find me, and you'll find updates for new incoming videos coming very shortly. We'll be continuing the Best Of series in the very next video, so stick stick around. If you liked what you see here and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and of course, give it a thumbs up if the video helped you out. I will see you all in the very next video. In the meantime, peace out, ladies and gentlemen.